So now I'm back inside my creation zone. I've got a photo in there. I've got a couple of pieces of text. I've got a title and a subtitle, a quote, and that's about it. But what I want to do here now is I want to have an embedded map in there. Now the embedding is really pretty cool inside ArcGIS Online Story Maps because in the not too distant past, you actually, like a lot of tools, you actually had to grab the embed code and put the whole code in there. Now, as the years have gone by, right, getting the code is less and less clunky. And I remember in the not too distant past, it was fairly clunky to actually grab the code. Did you grab the whole code? If you didn't get the whole code, or you have to create it from scratch sometimes in the past. But now you don't even have to grab the code. You can grab the URL for the story map or the map or something, or even a video, and that'll actually embed it in here for you. Really pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what I want to have in here is a map. I want to have a map in here. The map that I have is as follows. If you've got a ArcGIS Online account, which you do because you're actually in Story Maps and it's the same account. What you want to do is you want to find a map and you want to favorite it. And in the interest of time in the workshop, I would say find any map that's in your ArcGIS Online account and favorite it. If you don't have one, then we're going to have to walk through favoriting mine. Either way, the idea is I just want to have you favorite a map inside ArcGIS Online and get it into your story map. That's the goal. Whether it's the one I want, that's part of the lesson. To me, that's beside the point. Getting a map in there is the thing I want you to know how to do. So inside ArcGIS Online, for example, I've got one called a field trip to Northwest Indiana. If I start typing in text, I'm going to see that, oh, there's my geomorphology field trip. It's a web map in ArcGIS Online. Again, if you don't see the field trip, go ahead and search for just any old map that you've got access to inside the ArcGIS Online environment. You can also do this. You can say owner : and then a person's name that you know of in ArcGIS Online. It could be yours. It could be someone else's. It's your login name for ArcGIS Online. So if I do a field trip owner, JJ Kerski or JJ Kerski, I'm actually going to find my own map. So here's why you need to go find those maps. What the workflow is here is you find a map inside ArcGIS Online and you have to make a favorite of it. And then you can bring it in to your story map. Okay, so that's one way to do it. So we'll talk about other ways in a bit. But if I get that map in here, here's another thing that I wanted to just introduce here. And that is inside here, you have some capabilities, not the full ArcGIS Online capabilities, but you have some capabilities in here to actually edit the map right now, if it's not quite the way you want it. So for example, in this map that I've got, a field trip to Northwest Indiana, I've got several things. I've got some layers in here that I could turn off and turn on. Right now, I just want to see the topo map with the 4 sites that I visited with these students this one fine spring day 2 years ago, which seems like about 100 years ago, because I was actually out in the field. Wow, what a concept. And I was actually with real live students. Cool. But I'm good.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Mm-hmm.
We've got a couple questions. People are wondering how they can access this map to add it into their story map. And so I'm wondering, is this something that's publicly available that other people can access?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything that I've ever done, I've always shared with everyone.
So yeah, could you maybe help us? Because I'm also having trouble finding it. If we wanted to search for your web map,
sure.
How would you do that?
You could open another tab in ArcGIS Online. And with your own sign in, you could say, well, I'm gonna sign into that tab if you're not signed in with the same credentials. And you could then, the objective you want to be able to favorite it is the goal, because then you can bring it into your ArcGIS Online story map. So inside your ArcGIS Online account, you can then search. Now, since it's my own account, I'm going to find it right there. But let's say, since you're in a different account, you're not me, you're logged in as you. inside ArcGIS Online, one way to search is for someone's last name or for someone's login name. So you could do this, owner : JJ Kursky. If you did that, and I'll post that in the chat. If you can find that, that would be great. If you can't, then again, find some other map that you can just favorite.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Kai pointed out that there is a toggle, which
Yes.
we cannot see in Joseph's screen, but for me, it's appearing right below that word filters.
Yeah, it always wants to just search your own org first, your own organization. Yeah, because it's like, oh, okay, we'll keep it small first, and then you really want to search for the whole. Yeah, I don't know exactly how many maps are in ArcGIS Online at the moment, but it's in the tens of millions. So there's a lot of content out there, which is another teachable moment, right? When you're working with students or fellow faculty or anyone. And that is the tags matter. The metadata matters in these story maps or in these ArcGIS Online components, because it comes into play exactly in moments like this, where if you can't find something, maybe the tag wasn't as robust as it should have been. So metadata matters. I never metadata I didn't like.
Okay, so just to wrap that up, once I turned off that filter and said I didn't want to limit the search to UMass, your map popped up just like this. And then I was able to click a little star favorite button. And so now I think hopefully people are there.
Yeah, and if not, we can work with you in the future, folks. But there is here's the little metadata to my particular map. I'm not signed into this tab, but let's say I want to be. So I'm going to go to that same content item. There is I've already got it favorited, but remove from favorites. Then this will probably appear down below the thumbnail and add to favorites. What you want to do is find either this map, ideally, or some map that you or someone else maybe has created inside ArcGIS Online. Favorite that so that you can bring it into ArcGIS Online Story Maps, which is what we've got right here. And now you've got this interactive capability. Now I have, I have this these 4 sites that I visited with the students and a topo base. So, okay, it's sort of my overview of where we went that day on our field trip and why we were studying landforms. Okay, now let's do this. Let's go back to our tutorial and say, okay, we've got a map in there now, and let's skip this text because in the interest of time, there's a lot of other things we need to do today, but we also never did have a break. Oops.
Could we? This could be a good chance, and then maybe give people a chance to catch up, and we'll stick around if anybody has questions, maybe 5 minutes.
Yep, sounds good, folks.
Cool.
And when we come back, we'll add a photo and we'll add one more map, and then we've got some other things that we need to do.
Thanks for remembering that. Yeah. So everybody take 5 minutes.
Well, I get so excited about this. And
so Kathleen, maybe Joseph, could you show one more time? So you went to arcgis.com in order to find your map, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm inside the I guess the map that we're making, and am I supposed to go outside of that again to search for this map, or is there a search function? So I have a picture at the top, and I have a title, and I have that button, and I pressed on maps, but I couldn't find any maps. So am I supposed to go outside of this?
Yeah,
again?
Yeah, because
in again.
Exactly. Well, you don't need to. Okay, don't close this tab in the construction zone.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep that open. But yeah, go to another tab, sign into ArcGIS Online, because you have to make it a favorite first before you can bring it in here. I know that's ever so slightly clunky.
Why do you have to go outside to access these maps?
Because at this time there is no way to favorite something inside the Story Maps construction zone. The Story Maps construction zone lets you add things, and keep your knees bent, because maybe at some point in the future you will be able to do them both right inside here, but you have to have it. Yeah, I know that's ever slightly clunky, admittedly.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm in, and it's 150 years UMass Amherst, And so where did I go to I'm not going to make a map. I'm now just going to favorite the map, but then where's the search component to find your map or any map?
I'll share my screen maybe, and then
Okay.
you can see
That'd be great.
what I'm looking at.
Because I see a bunch of like Campus Tree Finder.
Yeah.
And
So do you see
yeah,
what I'm looking at now?
yes, that is what I'm.
So at the very top, there is a search kind of,
Yes.
it's magnifying glass. And if you
I saw
type
that.
in a field trip owner : JJ Kursky and do a search.
Okay, that is what, yeah, this is great. This is what I didn't know.
Yeah, and then you just have to untoggle that only search, and then it's the very first map, and you can just click the favorites button, the
Okay.
little star.
So in using this story mapping, then we do have to know where data is. So we would have to, if we were doing something on butterflies, I guess we could search butterfly migration and see what's out there in the databases that are available. Okay, great. Now I am understanding what we're doing here. Thank you very much. Let me catch up now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that everyone asked that question. I learned something new. I didn't even know this. I've only ever embedded my own content, so this was a fun exercise.
Yeah. So I have to find Kursky. I think you put that link somewhere.
Yeah.
Field trip owner Kursky, is that it?
Yep.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Is this search supposed to happen on the Living Atlas, Joe?
The Living Atlas is a subset of ArcGIS Online. And so, yeah, you can bring in Living Atlas content as well. This particular map of mine, it's not worthy, but thanks for the vote of confidence. It's not worthy to be a part of the Living Atlas. But yeah, you can bring in Living Atlas content as well.
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm seeing, like, in the story map construction section, you can just directly add stuff from Living Atlas. So you don't need that whole extra step of searching separately. Is that right?
If you bring in content from the Living Atlas, yes. This particular one wasn't, but yes.
Yep.
And I just actually, and I can share the slides too. Last Friday, I actually conducted a Living Atlas workshop. So I've got, fresh content from that workshop. That is a great resource. It's about 8,500, layers of ecological marine units and climate zones and mean annual temperature and population change and the American Community Survey. And oh my goodness, it's like my precious. I mean, it is amazing what's in there. It really is.
So Joseph, right, I know we're at 5 minutes, so we're kind of coming back now, but somebody asked a question, and I'm wondering if you could just touch on this, or maybe Joe Copera could type this in the chat, but business analyst, is this part of our subscription? How do we use it? Yeah,
I love Business Analyst Web. This is the web-based version. There is an additional capability inside ArcGIS Pro for business tools, for deeper dives, but this Business Analyst Web is part of, your university campus-wide subscription to all this. And it's a great way of making choropleth maps, making infographics, making, dashboards, etc. But the amazing thing to me about it is that you've got all this amazing content like right at your fingertips inside the tool. And the discussion that we've had over the last 5 minutes kind of touches on one of the advantages of Business Analyst Web. So Business Analyst Web, and I'm not going to spend more than 30 seconds, but if I go to create maps and I go to color coded, make a color coded, basically choropleth map, and I'm going to search all variables, and remember I had pets, but the categories, you've got who buys lottery tickets, who exercises 3 or more times a week, who drinks coffee on the way to work, who has multiple dogs, who has more than one dog and more than one cat, who has more than 2 dogs and more than 2 cats. The amount of data at your fingertips here is absolutely amazing. So just taking the pets example, notice you've got just pets alone, who spent money on pets. Here's the more than one dog, more than one cat, who's bought pet food, who's got onto the vet. I mean, goodness gracious. You've got like 40 variables of just pets alone. Anyway, so it's a great resource for, I've got the data bundled with the tools. And then since it's connected to the ArcGIS Online platform, you've got the capability of moving this, whatever you create here, into ArcGIS Online and even to Pro, and vice versa. So yeah, you do have access to this. Great question. I wish I could get excited about it. Anyway, it's just absolutely amazing. So we've got to put in one more map in here. Fortunately, we've kind of gone through some of the procedures, and so it's actually the same map, but it's going to be different layers inside that map, which again shows you the advantage of creating content and then being able to create a story map around it. You know, the whole idea of this story map, right, is that we didn't just go out with the students and we didn't just collect data. What did we learn? What, you know, right? What is that Oxbow Lake that we found out? What about, in this case, in the next 30 seconds, what about this drainage divide and why does it matter? You know what I mean? So we're actually creating this whole piece that goes on top of just the data that we collected. We're thinking about it. And again, the educational implications here are, I think, vast. And like I was indicating earlier, instructors use this as their assessment tool. Okay, students, you know, create a story map that has to have these 3 elements, and I'm going to assess those elements and in this rubric that I've got. And then also you use this as a way of presenting to me and to your peers in class, 5-minute presentation, let's say, and it works very well online as well in our online mode as well as face-to-face. So it works in multiple, you know, educational modalities, right? It's assessment, it's communication, it's some techie skills, and so on. So, and of course, the overall goal is I'm going to understand, in this case, my issue of geomorphology of Northwest Indiana better and richer in a deeper way than I did before. So I'm going to skip the text that I've got in the tutorial. I'm just going to go ahead and add another content block, and let's add a map in here, okay? Let's add a map, and let's find our geomorphology map again, our field trip map. The same one we favorited earlier, okay? But in this case, it always bounces you to the edit mode, because before you put it in your map, it says, hey, do you want to turn on any additional layers? Do you want to do some additional, you want to tinker with the base map? Do you want to change the scale, etc.? So in this case, the next section of what the students were studying is drainage divides. And so I'm going to turn off the topo map, and I'm going to turn on, see on the left side here, you got this little eye symbol. I'm going to turn on the Esri Hydro Reference Overlay. This is actually part of the Living Atlas that Becky was talking about a moment ago. It's got, as you can see here, rivers, but also, those little dotted brown lines. Drainage divides, nice. And my inputs for my watershed trace and my actual trace downstream. So this ties into, hey, this is a platform. So what I did in my map, as you can probably imagine, I put 2 points on an ArcGIS Online map, and I ran one tool, the Trace Downstream tool in ArcGIS Online. So where does the water flow north of that northernmost point? And then on the southernmost point, where does the drainage, where does the river, where does the water drain south of that point? So the thing is, we were right on this point. We were standing right here, and it is a drainage divide. I mean, it's not like the continental divide where it's really permanent, but getting the students to think that, wow, everything north of here flows into the Great Lakes and on down. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down Lake Superior, right? It goes all the way down to the St. Lawrence into the Atlantic. But here, right south of here, it actually drains into certain rivers, the Kankakee into Illinois, and then down to the Mississippi and down to New Orleans. Wow, just from this one point. It's not very prominent on the landscape. I mean, this is Northwest Indiana, you know, it's heavily glaciated. You've got this little almost imperceptible rise of the terrain. So I'm going to focus that right there, and I'm going to say place map. And then I'm going to grab one more photograph right below this map. And of course, I could change the caption there, say this is a drainage divide. But I'm going to go ahead and grab one more image, and I'm going to go to my place where I unzipped all those folders, and I'm going to grab my IN2. I think fascinating. Okay, so now we're going to add this, and here is this is the unusual thing about this drainage divide. There's actually a little kettle on top of the drainage divide. You know, big block of ice melted, and you know had it gouged out the surrounding terrain, so you've got this depression, and then now a lake actually sitting on top of the drainage divide. Really interesting. So that's what it looks like when you're standing there. Again, not all that prominent a ridge, but it is a drainage divide. So that was the point of that particular part of the story map. Is we're going to show what a drainage divide is. We're going to run these tools. One tool inside ArcGIS Online, and that is the Trace Downstream tool. You know, simple tool, but really powerful. Right? It's that age-old dropping a cup of water on the landscape, and where does it flow? So from there, we have a start for our story map. And the last thing that I wanted to put in here is as follows. If we go back to our procedures, you know how to put in text. So I'm going to skip this, if that's okay. You can come back to this later on. But let's come back, let's scroll down a ways till you get to this video, because I wanted to highlight what I was indicating earlier, and that is, as you already saw with the maps, you don't actually have to do what you did 2 or 3 years ago, where you had to actually go and get the embed code and put the embed code into your story map to make it work. Now, all you really need is this URL, and I'm not going to say that every single URL will be embeddable, but many of them are. So if I go and paste this into the chat box, oh, here we go. And I'm going to test it, of course, before I bring it in. Make sure it's still good. Okay, so there's my video of my field trip with the students. So I'm going to go to my Story Maps construction zone and go right below that photograph and then add the URL. Just going to go ahead and add, I'm going to say video. And notice you can even put a video from your own local drive, but I'm going to go to link, add video, link, and then add. It's just a beautiful world where you don't have to embed code. You just go to the link and it now is inside your story map, right, folks? Warning, it's a bit geeky, okay? But the point is you've got the capability now of doing that.